Alright guys, so we on site, and today we're putting together a Lifetime portable basketball hoop. Now I've put together tons of portable basketball hoops from Lifetime, or Spalding, or even some of the other smaller brands, and they're pretty straightforward to put together. This one really is for teenagers or young teenagers. I say ages between 7 and 10 years old. So this particular model isn't going to be as intricate as the more advanced level hoops. It's a polycarbonate basketball hoop, so the basketball backboard itself is pretty lightweight. The sound that it makes. So what I'm going to do right now is get all the hardware kind of laid out here, because this is going to be a build that we build not on a table, right? So this is going to be on the ground. So what you want to do is, anytime you have an opportunity to elevate yourself, to get like different hardware and stuff like that, you don't want to be bending down. So I'm going to use my table here just to kind of lay out all the parts. It says on the box that it takes less than 3 hours to assemble. Yeah, right here. See, it says less than 3 hours to assemble. And that's fair to say, but this is probably going to take me like an hour. Alright guys, so the first thing that we're going to be doing is attaching the metal base using these 3 poles. You don't have to be overly aggressive when you're kind of jamming them together, but just enough so that you get them to truly fasten and still have space to align the screws that are going to be going in the sides here. So.
A few inches later.
Alright guys, so this next step, we're going to be attaching these metal support brackets that are going to attach to the base of the hoop through these holes right here, and ultimately these are just then going to get attached to this pole right here. Alright guys, so you can see how as soon as I insert the metal pole, this metal pole that I just put together here is going to be able to connect the entire base together. But before we do that, we have to add the wheels that are going to be on the bottom of the hoop so that it's portable. Alright guys, so you see how this is connected. The last step is to tighten the bolts, connecting these back metal slats to the actual baseboard. So I gotta tighten the bolts with the nut underneath here. So I'm gonna do that right now. Again, we're using sockets because we're using bolts. And generally speaking, that's how it is with basketball hoops.
Much later.
So now this one's tight. I'm gonna flip this over and do the other one. But instead of using a kind of manual wrench, I'm going to attach this socket right here to my drill and just show you how you can be even more efficient with it. Alright guys, so for this one, I'm going to use my drill to tighten this and show you how you can be even more efficient with it. Use this one on the back end, hold that, this one in the front. Less cranks, snap of a finger. Alright guys, so the next thing we're going to do is assemble the backboard, and I believe it said we need parts BCS right here. So bring these over here. For this particular step, we're going to attach the rim from the bottom side up. Typically, you want to have this facing up, but because I have a table and I can have it just hanging, it's going to be a lot easier for me. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to hold up this rim and I'm going to insert the bolts through the rim, through the backboard, and then catch it on the other end using some nuts. Now we have the backboard attached. All right guys, and the last step for the basketball backboard assembly is to attach or bend these parts out like this. And essentially the holes that you see on these metal pieces are going to align with the holes that you see here on this backboard. All right guys, so what we're gonna do now is to start to attach these metal beams that are gonna be essentially the connectors for the main pole here and the base to the actual backboard. So again, we're gonna be using more bolts, more sockets to do this assembly because again, we're dealing with bolts. All right guys, so quick tip when you are attaching these bolts with these beams to the backboard. Sometimes the holes right here that are manufactured, these holes right here that are already made, they're still a little bit tight and there's still some like shaving inside of it. So what you want to do is kind of put the bolt inside where it's ridges, where you have the grooves into the hole like this, and then just kind of twist it out, and you'll see that there's some shavings, some like black shavings around, and it should make it a lot easier to go all the way through. And then I'm going to do the same thing for this one right here. So all I'm doing right now is attaching this main pole with the base to the backboard now. And what I'm going to do, because it's being a little bit stubborn, is I'm going to use my hammer to push it all the way through, and then do the same thing for these slats right here. So now I'm just going to do it for the second bolt using this second set of metal beams. All right, so this one is going to be a little bit of a weird angle, so it's best to do this step while it's on the ground. So I'm going to move this to the ground and continue to assemble. Essentially the hoop is built. The only thing that's left to do is to tighten all of the bolts that I set. So notice when I was capping off all of these, what I wasn't doing is using my drill to tighten them. The reason being is because you want to leave some tolerance so that you can get all the bolts in initially. Once all the bolts are in initially, now I can go through and tighten everything. So let me show you guys what I'm talking about. So some people like to add this base gel right here as an alternative to putting sand in, because once sand goes in, this thing is super heavy. But at the same time, when you put just water in, what happens sometimes is over time, this base may crack. So what this does is stops the water from freezing. If you live in an area like we do here in New England where we get pretty harsh winters, so the water is definitely gonna freeze. So if you add the base gel to it, it stops the water from freezing and expanding and then potentially cracking the base. So that's what I'm doing right now, is I'm adding this before I add the water to fill the base. And so the rule to put this in, the directions is to fill 2/3 of the base gel into the base before you start filling the water. So after I put 2/3 of this into the base, I'm gonna fill the base halfway, right? And when I get to halfway, just, you know, kind of eyeballing it, kind of getting the feel for what's halfway, it doesn't have to be exact. Then I add the rest of the base gel and then fill the rest of the hoop, the base, maybe 80–90% full. All right, so that feels like it's a little bit, about halfway full. So I'm gonna add the last third of this. All right, guys, it's a wrap. So you guys can see that I was just explaining to how to adjust the hoop. Again, this is one of the hoops that are for the younger kids, and for long periods of time, the hoop is probably gonna be at one height because the kids are young, they gotta get stronger and stuff like that so they can start even shooting to higher rims. Now, when you get to being a teenager, right, maybe having a different hoop might better fit them because they might wanna adjust it up and down if they wanna start dunking on the hoop and stuff like that. That's the difference between some of these hoops. Some of them are intermediate, some of them for beginners. So the beginner and intermediate hoops, you have to manually kind of put the hoop up and down. But as soon as you get to the more advanced hoops, then they have the apparatuses in the back where you can crank it and adjust it with your hand. That's if you're gonna be changing the height of the hoop quite often. So yes, we do more than just furniture installations. This isn't the only basketball hoop assembly video that we have up here. All right, so we've got a couple others, a few others. We got trampoline ones. So it's not just furniture, outdoor equipment as well. The customers get to enjoying this very, very soon. They seem to be excited. The ladies seem to be pleased with it. So yeah, that's all I got for you guys. Make sure to subscribe to this channel if you like this content. I'm trying to do a little bit more than just show you guys assemblies. I want to talk to you guys because I know you guys might enjoy, you know, seeing assemblies and things like that. And that's all fine and dandy. It's good to, sometimes I know it's, guys, as you can see, I'm already taking off. I got to put the video down so I can concentrate on the road. And I will see you guys on the next video. Peace out.